She was locked up in the zoo by a bully. You won't believe what happens next, but before that, let's get started. I hope you'll click the like button and write your opinion on the story. Ava is a 17-year-old smart girl. For a year, I sat quietly in a classroom at Heritage School. The school has a reputation for academics, including students coming from a wealthy family. She has always been an outsider. School is not because of its intelligence, but because of the clear difference between her life and the lives of her classmates. While they arrived by luxury car, Ava had to walk a long way to school. Her old shoes and torn clothes a constant reminder of her family's financial difficulties. Despite the difficulties were Ava's determination to excel in her studies, hoping that things would improve one day, and with the cruelty of her classmates becoming apparent. When they started targeting her because she was poor, her laughter and whispers always followed her wherever she went. Makes her feel like an invisible target. Her classmates only saw her as a poor girl. At the lunch table, they openly mocked her, said that someone like her had no place in the school like Heritage Academy. Ava endured it all. She was silent, her heart broken with every harsh word. Today begins like any other day. Ava goes to. The teacher lowered her head, trying not to pay attention to the glances. The cold of the students as they passed by car. The luxury convoy arrived at the school and saw the cars. On the contrary, the shiny new car is parked in a private driveway. Sharp with her old bag in the classroom, school begins to discuss plans for the next vacation. Ava listened attentively, hoping that she could also be a part of it. From the conversation, she wants to tell them about the places you dream of visiting but don't know. This will highlight their reality of poverty, and increasing room noise makes Ava feel courageous. To speak and speak calmly. I wanted to go to Paris one day, but before she could finish the sentence, one of the famous girls in the class went mad. She laughed and mocked her, saying, "Where did you come from?" "Ava, I'll find the money to do it." These are not words. For poor people like you. The room bursts with laughter and turns into Ava's face, flushed with shame, and she shrinks. She sat there and wished she could disappear. Ava sat in her seat trying to ignore the laughter. The ridicule that was spreading around was that their words hurt her unbearably, but Miss Ko remained silent, choosing not to answer when the bell rang. The bell signaling the end of the school day has been arrested. Ava finished writing and left the classroom. She bowed her head and walked home. Long, and when she walks through the streets it is heavy. The events that happened today will one day break her down. Heritage Academy students decided to continue their school trip to the city zoo. It was a rare change from their usual routine. The air was filled with excitement as they climbed to the luxury buses, and their laughter echoing in this cold morning. For Lava, the journey was a new challenge and also a new opportunity for Grace and her friends to distinguish her remain calm. Ava and they go to the zoo and bring a bag. Her diet tries to focus on animals, enjoy brief moments of comfort in her darkness. Their beauty is that of graceful and mischievous monkeys. It gives her a rare moment of peace when her thoughts are temporarily free of whispers and glances. Her colleagues, but this peace did not last long. Grace's voice broke the silence, speaking in a sweet but still very gentle voice. "Harsh, Ava came here." Ava hesitated and was. Her instincts were screaming for her to stay away, but the group turned and stared at her, leaving her speechless. "There was no other way but to get there. We found this place perfect for you," Grace said with a sly smile. "That's that group." They gathered near the monkey cage with faces radiant with cruel happiness. Grace pointed to the cage. She was extremely excited and said, "Does it look like that?" "Your house." The group of people burst into laughter and their mockery echoed in Ava's ears, so she turned around. She walked away and said, "Leave me alone," but she stopped when Grace stood in her way and widened her smile. "Come on, Ava," she said in a sarcastic voice, We're just trying to help you integrate with the family first. If Ava can react, keep the two of you back." Grace's friends were in her arms, her heart was beating quickly. When the panic overflowed, she screamed, "What are you doing? Let me go!" Ava waving. But their grip was so strong that the laughter coming from around her became louder and louder, forcing her to try. The smash shattered as they pulled her towards the door. The cage smiled at Grace and said, "Relax, Ava, just kidding." He pushed the door open and pushed her inside. Inside, Ava staggered to the ground and fell violently. On the dust around her, the monkeys screamed and ran. Ava stood up, her heart racing as she screamed. She said, "Take me out." Her words were full of despair. But her classmates did nothing but laugh out loud. "Look at her." Grace laughed and said, she held up her phone to record the moment. Eventually, she found. Her family ridiculed her, and some even hunched over because they were too angry. Laughing while others were filming the insult, Ava's voice caught the attention of the zookeeper. The relative hurriedly ran towards them, and his face was a mixture of confusion and anger. "What is happening here?" is asked by voice. Deciding to cut through the chaos around him, Grace, her behavior changes quickly and the smile is replaced by a gaze. "Fake worry, we don't know how she got in there." Plaintiff said, "We tried to stop her but I climbed inside. My hands trembled when they touched each other." Her eyes are like the eyes of a zookeeper, her heart is like that hurts her and she wishes she could scream the truth, but the cameras pointed at her made her try to hold herself back as she felt the power of the cameras. And the ability to distort her words and exaggerate her pain. Instead she nodded silently and her face feeling embarrassed. The zookeeper opened the cage. He helps her and speaks in a firm voice, "But, well, this is a risk that you can take." Ava whispered, "You have to be more careful." I apologized in a weak voice. She lowered her head. Away from the eyes of classmates and park rangers, the group moves forward, their laughter diminishes. Now but still full of irony, Ava was late, her hands clenched into fists, still aching. Their cruelty haunts her, but deep down there is. Something had changed, a small flash of defiance flashed. Inside it hasn't been broken by them yet one day she swears that she will rise above their cruelty, and when that day comes, they'll see in the end, she's really the one they can't beat. That night after dinner Ava booked herself her room, didn't want to talk to anyone, especially her parents were suffering their own difficulties. Sitting on the edge of the bed, tears began to fall, causing her vision to blur. The pain she felt behind the harsh criticism of her colleagues was recognition. No matter how hard you try, it's never enough for them. Her parents' constant struggle to make ends meet, life became heavy and she began to feel frustrated. For them, because they could not provide the life that she had dreamed of. With the days that went by she withdrew. Ava was more interested in herself than in her classmates. The classroom and its spirit, which had been bright before, had become dark now because of the weight of their cruelty in the house. She had become distant from her parents, and they were very worried about her. But they don't know how to access it. Ava's father worked tirelessly in the streets to feed the family his daughter used to be. She began to fade, she was no longer the cheerful girl she used to be. She returns home with a smile, but now every day, her shadow recedes to the bedroom. One evening after school, Ava was sitting in her room when she heard her father's footsteps. The tired woman outside the door knocked lightly and said, "Ava, are you okay?" He asked in a worried voice, but Ava didn't answer. She didn't want to bother him. In her grief, her father felt something was wrong. He sighed before walking, but the worry was still there. He didn't know the darkness inside Ava. He's getting stronger. Ava's life at school has become unbearable. The bullying in the hallway still doesn't stop. The students dropped the book in her hand and laughed. When she bent down to meet him, a whisper rang out. Everywhere, the impact of each harsh word is more severe. No one stands next to her like the person in front of her. Either they engage in bullying or they ignore it. It was all over. Ava began to believe that maybe she wasn't made for this world, and maybe nothing more from a joke to everyone around. Her dream came true. The bright future is far away. Her hands are too weak to focus on her studies. Her thoughts were completely dominated by the cruelty of her colleagues. She tried to talk to her parents about what she was going through. But shame prevented her from opening up. She didn't want them to know how much pain she felt and the amount from her. Said her colleagues were hurt by Ava's emotional breakdown. As the bullying continued, she found herself struggling. There are always negative thoughts that you can't try to avoid, no matter how much your colleagues laugh at you. It kept haunting her mind, and she began to believe that she was not worthy of him. Life, why do you keep fighting for life? No one cares, why are you still trying? While everyone saw her inferior to them, at one point in the evening after a hard day at school, Ava sat alone in her room staring out the window. The world she no longer felt like she belonged to. Her heart was heavy and she wondered if it was all right. Someday you will be better. The first time I seriously thought about it, the end of the pain was not her desire in death, but it's about her desire to escape the constant cycle of hurt and rejection. But before surrendering to the darkness, she hears her mother's voice from the bottom calling her. She wipes away her tears and tries to put those thoughts aside. Ava's father notes. Radical change has happened to her, but they have not. They know how to help her father, who has he worked long hours on the streets to earn a living. Their day was exhausting for her mother, who was always busy trying to meet the needs of the family. She didn't know how to reach out and comfort her daughter. Ava is always proud of her and hopes for a better life. But now they feel helpless when they witness that scene. Their daughter is drowning in a vortex of sadness and loneliness. One evening, her father sat with her on the kitchen table and said, "Ava, we know that something is wrong. You seem more distant lately. Please talk to us." His voice is full of emotion. With anxiety and hope, Ava remains silent. Able to express the pain she feels, she doesn't want to make them suffer. "You don't want to be a source of frustration," I responded with a faint smile, trying to convince them. Everything was fine, even though her heart it was collapsing from the inside. The days went by so quickly and I got closer. The moment the worst is about to happen, the harassment has reached its climax, and on one of the days Ava walks through the hallways of the school, is violently attacked by a group of students. That made her stumble and drop the book again, but this time they didn't just laugh, they also started to mock her mercilessly. One of them said in a voice, looking at her with sarcastic eyes, she couldn't even hold the book, and everyone laughed. Their laughter was like thunder in my ears. Everything around her was just one point at the moment. It's a downfall for her, as she feels that the whole world is against her and she has nowhere to hide. The hell she has to live every day breaks Ava's heart. She felt the weight of her classmates' hatred weigh on her chest. She ran to the bathroom, closed the door and cried. Until she could no longer cry those tears. It used to be a means to vent anger, now it has become emptiness. Doesn't mean she's tired of fighting, tired of having to fight, tired of having to pretend, tired of having to invisible looking in the mirror, but the reflection, the person she saw, was not the girl she knew. What she saw was just a broken corpse of a human being. She was no longer her. She knew that the thought of hiding from everything had come back to her, stronger than ever, and for the first time I came up with a plan. Ava told someone she knew wouldn't understand. That day she came home in a heavy mood. His burden increased with each step, and as I reached the trouble-ridden house with her parents, not knowing that the storm was raging together with her daughter, she closed the door of her room for the first time. The last one, as I've done many times before, but this time is different. This time is different. You know you can't take it anymore. With trembling hands, I wrote a final letter to her parents and to the world she felt had rejected her. Grandma told them how much she loved them and how much she apologized to them. Because she let them down, she apologized that she wasn't strong enough to face the pain anymore. That night Ava walked towards the bridge and her heart was heavy but determined. She made her decision. I feel the world would be a better place without her. Thinking that Ava's parents had woken up this morning, they then found the house empty and silence enveloping. This place is Ava's room and nothing is touched in it, while the message I wrote hidden in her drawer, looking for madness and anxiety, but they found no trace of her. The terrible news came only later that day. Ava jumped off the bridge and was found in the river. The loss of his only daughter made him extremely distressed and felt, "I don't understand why you feel that way." The level of despair is indescribable. The news spreads. Ava's sudden death at school shocked her classmates. But for many people, sadness is mixed. Feeling guilty, some of them begin to realize how much their contribution to the antelope, while others try to throw blaming others. But something unexpected happened. Passers-by witnessed the accident and spread the news that she had passed away. The late engineer appeared. The face of the bridge is a mixture of shock and determination. At first he thought she was dead, but when he examined her, he realized she was still beating. Without hesitation, he picked her up in the truck and drove away. Arrived at the nearest hospital, and after work Ava woke up on the hospital bed. I was confused and weak. The engineer sat next to her, her face full of relief. When he saw her open his eyes, he asked why. Trying to end her life and tears flowing on her face, she told him all about bullying without dropping out of school and struggling financially with her family and how desperate she felt. Listened to the engineer patiently tell her his story, his heart heavy with worry. His personal difficulties in his youth and how he overcame them. His words were full of patience and faith. With wisdom and kindness, he infused into her heart a ray of hope. Ava found a ray of hope that she thought she had found. I lost it, and when I got out of the hospital I brought it to her. The engineer who came to her house was her parents. They were in a state of extreme anxiety, immersed in the joy and gratitude of seeing him alive. Life hugged her tightly and tears flowed. His eyes seemed to thank the engineer for saving him. As their only daughter, Ava feels conflicted in her emotions. Although she is grateful to be able to live life, is the idea of going back to school. It was full of horror that everyone there thought she was grandma, who died at the thought of confronting her bullies. It was unbearable. The days passed and Afa avoided leaving home, refusing to go back to school. Despite being encouraged by her parents, while washing her clothes, she noticed something unusual in the pocket of his coat he handed her. The engineer's hands trembled as she walked out. Heavy gold chain, exquisite and shiny design under the sunlight. She is beautiful even in my eyes. Ava non-practitioners can recognize that she is too great value for the moment. Ava feels a wave of passion. Chain can change everything. For her family, they can pay off their debts and buy a car. And maybe even move to a better house, but this thought quickly leads to feelings of guilt. She knew the necklace wasn't hers. It belonged to the engineer. Ava decided to keep it. She kept it a secret and didn't even tell her parents. The days of torn between the two options of the chain or selling it to secure the future of her family. Meanwhile, the engineer is desperately looking for this chain that is an heirloom passed down through generations. Her loss shocked him deeply. He followed his footsteps but couldn't remember where he was going. Maybe he had left it behind and didn't know that Ava's chain had hidden it in a small box at her feet. Early in the morning, Ava wakes up with a decision in her heart that she can't keep following the chain. It's not hers and isn't any a little money that can erase guilt. Who controlled her during breakfast? She said her parents were surprised by the series, but her mother smiled with pride evident on her face. They both agreed that bringing her back was the right thing to do. What should I do? Her father said as he patted her. Her honest hand was more precious than gold that evening. Ava returns to the bridge where the engineer saved her. The sunset dyes the sky with colors. The warm shades of orange and pink cast shadows. The water found the engineer examining his tools. When he saw her, he smiled, but his face turned shocked. When she handed him the necklace, he asked her in a plump voice, "Surprised that I didn't know where I found it?" I explained it to him. She looked at the coat that the engineer had lent her. Then the chain was given to Ava and his eyes lit up with tears. He said, "You can keep it, it's worth it." "Millions, why are you bringing it back?" Ava shrugged her shoulders. She replied in a soft voice, "Because she didn't affect me." The engineer is very uncomfortable with this behavior in a world where there is a greed for honesty. This is Ava's action. Like a beacon of bright hope that cannot be extinguished, the engineer should not let his integrity go unrewarded. That evening he took her home and sat with her. Her parents told them, "Your daughter is showing something. Integrity is rare these days, and I want to help. Your family is the son of Shah." Ava engineer care offer educate her to make sure she can participate. At school there wasn't any financial burden when he gave her parents a new luxury car so she wouldn't have to do it anymore. He went to school and didn't stop there. Instead, he arranged for them to have stable jobs and a roof. Having just arrived in this neighborhood, the most amazing feeling filled my father. Ava with tears flowing as they thanked each other. The engineer constantly felt a warmth in his heart without feeling it for a long time, and for the first time since the month I felt a glimmer of hope for the future. For the following week, Ava decided to go back to school. Her father took her in the luxurious black car he had given her. "What's the matter, engineer?" And when they arrived at the school square, the students were prevented from talking and staring in surprise. In the luxury car, when Ava comes out in a suit, a new and matching school uniform has been worn. The postponement was the girl who was mocked. She was bullied and came back, but this time couldn't realize. Not only because of her new look, but also because of the confidence. Ava stands in front of the gate and carries it with her. The school is proud. For the first time the bullies have turned his life into a whispering hell. They look at her, some are shocked, others. They felt jealous, but no one dared. As she approached the inside of Ava, she felt a mixture of tension and insistence. The girl was no longer there. Pushed to the brink by their cruelty, she endured pain and humiliation, but she became stronger. Now she has the means to confront them. Who has made her life unbearable? But Ava's plan of revenge is not cruel. She wants to teach them a lesson. One lesson he will never forget. During a school-wide meeting, Eva is talking to students and the school is her image. That alone was enough to attract everyone's attention, but her words stunned them. She spoke in an even voice, "But he's very consistent. Many of you know me, but you don't know you know the whole story. I'm Ava, the girl you laugh at her, insult her and make her feel like. It wasn't worth anything. I almost ended my life because of it. The way you treated me made you silent." The hall appeared and guilt appeared on the faces of those who had hurt him. Ava continued to speak in a resolute voice, "But I survived. I'm here to tell you that your words and actions have consequences. What he did to me was not only bullying, but it was also harsh, but I decided not to humble myself to be on an equal footing with him. Instead, I want to show you that kindness is much stronger than hatred." Her speech made everyone cry, including Ava's bully. Doesn't stop there, she also works with the school administration, who is launching a campaign against it. Bullying and making it her duty to make sure that he suffers. Any other student has suffered as the weeks go by. And turning it into months, Ava focused on excelling in Let's Study It and take advantage of the opportunities offered. She has bullies who stay away from her at first because feeling ashamed, they start to respect her for her strength. Her consistency has earned her great academic achievements. Her leadership in the anti-bullying campaign has led to honoring her on and off school. Ava one day meets Sarah, the leader of the bullying group, in the hallway. The teacher's name was Sarah, and she looked nervous and evasive. Look at her, but Ava stopped her and said, "Ava, Sarah, I forgive you, but I hope you have. I learned that your actions will have consequences. Use your voice to encourage others, not to destroy them." Sarah fell. She cried and apologized a lot. I accepted her apology. But she remained steadfast, insisting that real change comes from within when you graduate. In it, Ava not only changed her life, but she also changed her school and became an advocate. Bullying is a lesson for other schools. Ava's story has been widely shared, inspiring many people to stand up against the cruelty of bullies. Those who were once the source of suffering have become allies. She spread the message of kindness for revenge. Ava not in making them suffer but in proving that success, power and tolerance are the highest forms of justice. The ending is not just Ava's journey. The problem is not to stay but to regain strength. And turning it into a strength for good, and when she left Hadij Academy did it one last time, and she held her head high, knowing that she had won in her own way. Join us to follow more. Don't forget to like and subscribe.